She must have been talking about Prosecutor Blackwell. Alright guys, we're back. I wanted to put that episode till I got to the trial itself, but it ended up being pretty long, so I just ended it. We're back. We're questioning Athena about what's going on before the trial happens. I heard some prison guards say that you had an interview with Simon. How was he? What did he say? No, I can't tell her, but how can I lie to Athena? He was doing well. He was happy about the possibility of being proven innocent. He was? I wonder if he smiled like he used to back then. If I can't prove Prosecutor Blackwell's innocence in this trial, I don't think Athena will ever forgive me. Yeah, I doubt she will. I just have to free him. Failure is not an option here. Ah, I thought you might be here, Mr. Lawyer. We're in trouble. We are? What is it? I couldn't find a single open courtroom. They're all in session. Oh no, but this is an emergency. It's very difficult to interrupt the trial once it's underway. My phone. It's from Trucy. I told you I'd give you 1 hour. I guess it's time to pick one of the hostages. No, wait. We still have a little more time. Besides, all of the courtrooms are being used right now. Make all the excuses you want, but you won't get more time. Your daughter is first. The poor thing. She's a little too young to die, don't you think? No! Don't you dare hurt her. There has to be something I can do. The cruelest injustice is about to befall us. No, this can't be happening. Mystic Maya, help us. Wait a minute. Maya? I read somewhere that you were holding a trial in the middle of an exploding courtroom. It must have really been something, although weird is par from the course with you. Uh-huh. A courtroom. Blew up. That's it. There is a courtroom we can use after all. Okay, time's up. Too bad. Any last words you'd like to say to her?
Hold it!
Aura, please don't add to the crimes you've already committed. So you know who I am, do you? It wasn't like I was trying to keep it a secret anyway. We're ready to start the trial. We can hold it in the ruins of courtroom number 4, the one blown up by the bomber. Oh, what a wonderful idea, Mr. Nick.
I never would have thought of that. An astonishing trial in an astonishing location. I guess it's only befitting I'll go get the place ready for right away.
Yeah, right where the dark times of the law really took hold. I didn't exactly pick the place for its astonishing factor. How about it? Are you ready to have your brother's innocence proven? My brother? My brother? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I forget to mention? It's not Simon you'll be defending. What? Not Prosecutor Blackwell. I indict Athena Sykes on the charge of murdering her own mother. You'll be defending the little princess there, the one behind the glass. What? See you in that mountain of rubble you've chosen for our courtroom, Mr. Wright. Oh, crap. What is she talking about? Athena? Of course. Why didn't it ever occur to me before? If Prosecutor Blackwell is innocent, somebody else had to have been the true culprit. Did I kill my own mother? No. No! Oh my god, she has huge cyclocks. Damn. No way, it can't be true. Mr. Nick, what's the matter? I see 5 black cyclocks. I've seen these kind of locks before. Dark black locks protecting a secret hidden deep inside a person's heart. And there's no way to remove them. Oh, crap. To be continued. Damn. That is nuts. Well, since this episode lasted pretty longer than I had thought, we're gonna jump into trial day 1 in this part as well. I did a little research. I looked into those special psych locks you mentioned, Mr. Nick. You did. That's great. I really appreciate it. A red psych lock protects a secret a person is consciously trying to hide. If the person folds under questioning, the lock breaks and the truth comes out. Yep, that's exactly how I got the truth out of Detective Fulbright and Director Cosmos. But a black psych lock protects a secret from the deepest place in a person's heart. A secret that that person isn't even consciously aware of. So even they don't know it's there. Athena isn't trying to keep anything from you on purpose. For some reason, part of her heart and her memories are sealed off, even from herself. Okay, so all I have to do is break the psych locks. According to my research, a black psych lock is like a heavy chain wrapped directly around one's heart. If they are ripped off by force, it could cause permanent damage to a person's soul. In other words, if I'm not careful, I could traumatize Athena for good. Oh. Pearls, could you stay by Athena's side? She must be suffering under the weight of such a heavy burden. Alright, but will you be alright by yourself, Mr. Nick? I'm up against Edgeworth. I have to be able to give this trial all of my focus and strength. And you can't do that if I'm there. I'll just hold you back. No, that's not it. I just meant I can't relax and concentrate if I know... I can relax and concentrate if I knew you were there with Athena. You're the only one who can do it, Pearls. Alright. I'll do it then. Good luck, Mr. Nick. Aw, man, I would have liked to stand trial with Pearl. Good. Now that my mind is at ease, I'd better get ready. I'll just tidy up the evidence and take out what I don't need. It's time to end this nightmare that started 7 years ago. Damn. So he really wants me to frickin'... Oh, man. Defense, prosecution, and judge. There are even people in the gallery. The roof has been completely blown off and the walls have collapsed. But today, this ruin is my battleground. Here we go. Day 1. Court is now in session. Court, or something facsimile thereof. Smell thereof. I can't speak words. Is now in session for the trial of Athena Sykes. Not a facsimile, old man. This is a proper official trial. Take this more seriously or you'll start hearing the bones of the hostages snap. Please try not to upset Mr. Blackwell. I'm begging you.
Court is now in session for the very serious and very proper trial of Athena Sykes.
This is no trial. It's nothing more than a ridiculous farce. What did you say? Edgeworth, did you not hear what I just said to His Honor? However, this ridiculous farce has a very important meaning for our legal system. Recall the case of the UR1 incident in which a prosecutor was found guilty of murder. That case ushered the odious dark age of the law. I see what you're after. If we can find the real truth behind that case today, precisely, the darkness will be dispelled and glory shall be restored to the court system.
Prosecutor Edgeworth, you sound as if you know something of this truth.
I do indeed. A new suspect has emerged in the UR1 case. For 7 years, Simon Blackwell has refused to speak in order to cover for someone else. Brace yourself, Phoenix. Here it comes. I'm sorry, Wright, but the situation is what it is, and I must do what I must. The prosecution moves to indict Athena Sykes on the count of murder in the first degree. Damn. Cutscene. Damn, look at those dead-looking people.
I intend to question the defendant with all I have. For that is a part of my creed.
Uh-oh.
The two legends.
Then you better bring it. If the two of you are ready.
Oh, we hear the judge. Alright.
Court is now in session for the trial of Athena Sykes.
Hell yeah.
Honor, the defense was born ready. The prosecution is also ready.
Here we go! They're back at it again for a big battle. This immense tension between us. It's like we're picking up right where we left off.
It's my duty to clear Prosecutor Blackwell of false accusations and end this insanity.
But I have no intention of losing Miss Sykes either. She's a very promising young lawyer. I know without a doubt that Athena is innocent. But I don't think Prosecutor Blackwell did it either. So, do you have any clue who was responsible for this sabotage? At the very least, I know it wasn't Simon Blackwell. I don't know enough to identify the true culprit, but it's clear what that person is. To put it simply, a spy. The true culprit is a spy. It's going to be hard to convince anyone of that when I barely believe it myself. But I don't have a choice if I want to save Athena and Blackwell and expose the spy. Now then, Chief Prosecutor Edgeworth.
No need for the Chief Prosecutor bit, Your Honor. I'm here as a simple prosecutor.
Very well. Your opening statement, please, Prosecutor Edgeworth. Although I've been known of late to give an impressive opening statement myself.
In all the trials I have ever seen, only the prosecution gives an opening statement.
Oh, of course, you're right. I was just joking. Just having a little fun.
So he wasn't doing them just out of fear. Interesting. Let's start with a brief overview of the UR-1 incident. The incident occurred at the Cosmos Space Center 7 years ago on October 7th. The victim psychologist, Miss Sykes, was killed in the robotics lab on the 4th floor.
Athena's mother.
Simon Blackwell, a young prosecutor at the time, was found guilty of the crime. There were two deciding factors that led to his guilty verdict. 1, Blackwell was the only person in the corridor to the lab at the time of the murder. And 2, this photo, which captured the moment of the crime. It actually would make sense that he was protecting Athena, because she said that he really did, he smiled around her. They were good friends. But I can't believe that she did it.
Very incriminating evidence indeed. It would appear that the only conclusion is that Prosecutor Blackwell did indeed.
Are you kidding me? I'm not accepting any conclusion of the kind. This opening statement is over. Now hurry up and call the witness.
Excuse me, Miss Blackwell, but we must follow proper procedure for these things, you know.
Or perhaps we should heed her wishes, Your Honor. She is the trial sponsor, after all. Besides, the courtroom is chilly, and sitting for too long can't be good for your back.
Oh, you are very kind to show such concern for the welfare of the elderly.
Skilled as ever at playing the court puppeteer, I see. The prosecution calls its first witness, a witness who decided to bring forth new testimony after 7 long years. New testimony? And just who is this witness anyway? Ah, man. This bastard.
Bobby Fulbright's the name, and justice we trust.
Oh, what are you doing here?
I'm just here to speak for the hostage taker, Miss Ori Blackwell. She says she's too busy, with confining and threatening the hostages and all.
That doesn't seem to stop her from constantly chiming in through Clonco. I'm nothing more than an observer in this. Do your best. I'm watching you. Believing her brother innocent, Miss Blackwell has been conducting her own investigation. And though her current actions are hardly lawful, I think we can at least hear her theory.
I have here Miss Blackwell's notes on the investigation she conducted. And I'll be giving testimony based on these notes. Here I go.
Alright. Or Blackwell's theory.
Simon isn't the murderer. He was trying to cover for someone. Someone else was at the scene at the time. They say Simon committed the murder. I mean, if he really was out to steal that moon rock, then why the rolling case? Because he was using it to hide someone inside, that's why. And the only person small enough to fit inside that case was Athena Sykes. And that's Miss Blackwell's theory. It totally goes in the face of the official ruling, huh? About the case she mentions, there were other rolling cases like that one in the lab. But they're not for traveling. They're apparently for moving parts and equipment.
I vaguely remember seeing 3 cases, all different sizes.
At the last trial, they thought that Prosecutor Blackwell used the case to steal the rock. And they had a perfectly good reason to think that, too. You see, there's a security camera in the corridor that leads to the robotics lab. And that camera captured footage of Blackwell leaving the scene with the case.
I can see why that footage helped to bring his trial to a quick end. It's very convincing, that's for sure. Convincing, that's for sure.
Alright, so we got a 7-year-old photo, video. That case, by the way, was later discovered outside on the Space Center grounds.
Speaking of after the incident, where was the defendant, Athena Sykes, found? She was found on the 5th floor of the Space Center in the Sykes family residence. Prosecutor Blackwell most likely brought her there after the incident. In addition, it's unknown where Miss Sykes was at the estimated time of death.
Miss Sykes was too confused by the shock of her mother's death to give proper testimony. And there was no witness or evidence to tell us where she might have been.
So what you're saying is Miss Sykes didn't have an alibi? That is what the evidence is saying, yes.
I understand the reasoning behind the theory, but I'm far from convinced. The victim is the accused's mother. Are you actually claiming an 11-year-old girl?
Of course, the girl had a very strong motive.
Dr. Sykes was a psychologist who wrote many papers about speech and emotions. You're aware of Athena Sykes' special ability, aren't you, Your Honor? Are you referring to that therapy thing? Yes, she's done it quite a few times in court.
The ability to read emotions from speech and the subject of her mother's research.
Well, as long as it benefits society, I don't see any particular problem researching it.
I don't like where this is heading. Not one bit. Dr. Sykes was so intent on her research, she forced her daughter to undergo experiments.
Prosecutor Edgeworth, are you seriously suggesting...
I've done my best to be delicate, but even you can't deny it to be true, Mr. Wright. No longer able to withstand the anguish of the experiments, Miss Sykes felt her only choice was to kill her own mother. Ah!
Order! Order in the court. What a tragic story. I hardly want to believe it myself. But we must proceed. Mr. Wright, if you could, Detective Fulbright, please refer to the notes.
Alright, cross-examination time. Simon isn't the murderer. He was trying to cover for someone.
Hold it!
So Prosecutor Blackwell willingly accepted a death sentence to protect someone.
Yes, that is precisely what Miss Blackwell appears to believe.
And that is what I believe as well. Prosecutor Blackwell is no murderer, Mr. Wright. But Athena Sykes certainly didn't kill anyone either, Mr. Edgeworth. So it appears neither of us can afford to go easy on the other. Fine. I expected no less.
Oh, I remember this tense atmosphere. It's so invigorating. I'm only reading notes here, but yeah. I feel extra invigorated too, so let's keep going. Someone else was at the scene at the time.
Alright, press it. But that's just speculation. No, Miss Blackwell has proper grounds for her claims.
Objection!
Then why didn't you say so in the first place?
Objection!
You're the one who screamed, "Hold it!" and cut me off. Fine, so maybe I jumped the gun by a teeny-weeny bit.
Now I know what they mean when they say close enough to argue. Moving on.
Hold it!
This rolling case, I suppose you mean the one that existed in the photo with Prosecutor Blackwell in it. But was absent when the crime scene photos were taken. Yes, that's the one. And Miss Blackwell has drawn a conclusion from these 2 photos.
She has? And what is that conclusion?
You're the one with her notes.
Oh, right. Of course. Reading them now.
Hold it!
And how do you propose he hid a person inside one of those cases? Have you forgotten that we saw just such a thing only the other day? At your own daughter's magic show? She fit a grown person into a small box. Oh yeah, way to ruin the memory of a good day.
A magic show? I wish you would have thought to invite me. Actually, I would have liked to go too.
My apologies. I'll invite you both next time. I promise. So, wait a minute. What were we talking about again?
Prosecutor Blackwell was using the case to hide someone.
Hold it!
But that's nothing more than conjecture, and it's hardly the only possibility.
In that case, what do you think Prosecutor Blackwell hid in that case?
I think it was the moon rock.
Objection!
There were 3 cases at the scene, but Prosecutor Blackwell used the largest one. The moon rock was egg-shaped and only about 8 inches in diameter. It wouldn't have made any sense to use the largest case. They're just there just to move that rock.
Objection!
Be that as it may, it doesn't prove Miss Sykes was inside. Then let me ask you this. Can you come up with a better theory of what was in the case?
Well, Mr. Wright, can you?
Yikes. Give a guy some time to think. Let's see. Should I try to bluff my way through what could have been in that case?
Bluff or don't bluff? Don't bluff.
I guess I'd better wait and see how it goes. It's a clever theory, but it doesn't look like they have any solid proof. If I push, maybe I can uncover some flaws in it.
Alright, so I guess I gotta bluff, because
Hold it!
there doesn't seem to be any other option. And bluffing's what Phoenix is good at. Alright, let's just skip all this for now.
Objection!
I know exactly what Prosecutor Blackwell carried from the scene. I just have to find something else that was missing, right? No sweat.
Oh, I'd be very interested in hearing your theory, if it's true, that is.
This is a crime scene photo taken after Professor Blackwell left, correct? All we have to do is compare this with this photo of Prosecutor Blackwell to see what's missing. If he took something with him, then it should be in one of these photos. Lady Luck, don't fail me now.
Alright then, Mr. Wright, let us hear your theory.
What did Prosecutor Blackwell take from the scene of the murder?
He took Ponko's arm.
Please notice that there's a robot part on top of the cart in this photo. However, in this photo taken after the crime, the robot part is gone. In other words, this part is something that was taken from the scene of the crime.
You do appear to be right. I don't see it in the second picture. But it's just a piece of junk. How important could it be?
Is it really just an insignificant robot part? Speaking of which... What are you looking at? I'm gonna start charging for each glance per eyeball. Stingy, stingy. What happened to the age of free previews? Your Honor, about this robot part. Doesn't it look like it could be an arm from that robot there?
Well, now that you mention it, it does, doesn't it? But the case is still too big to be practical for just a moon rock and a robot arm.
But was it really just the one arm that was in there? If it wasn't Athena in the case, then maybe. I believe there was another robot at the scene that looks just like the one there, the one here. Your Honor, it is the defense's assertion that it was this other robot that was in the case.
What?
Objection!
We can't be certain that part belonged to a robot. Yes, it looks like the arm of the one before us, but it could be something else entirely. Besides, it's wrapped entirely in bandaging, making it difficult to verify what it is.
Objection!
I know for a fact that it is a robot arm. I can even tell which robot it belonged to just by looking at it. With this information, we can investigate whether it was there at the time or not.
But Mr. Wright, I thought you were more of the technologically illiterate type.
When did you become such an expert? I feel somehow abandoned.
Not to worry, Your Honor. I still know next to nothing about machines. But I know this piece of evidence proves which robot the arm belonged to. Where is it? Yeah, it's this here.
Take that!
The robot in this picture is named Panko. But take a look at Panko's arm. It was Miss Sykes who bandaged it up like that.
She must have thought that machines heal in the same way that people do. What an adorable, naive mistake. It reminds me of my own grandchild.
The robot arm at the crime scene had the same bandaging wrapped around it. In other words, this robot arm could belong to none other than Panko.
Order in the court. You gotta love his music. Order, I say. Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you have to say to this?
I concede that robot is about the same size as a child. But it cannot grab its knees and curl itself up into a ball. Even if it was the largest of the cases, the robot couldn't have possibly fit in there. The case does come up to about mid-high on Prosecutor Blackwell.
I see your point. The robot is much taller than that.
They've got me there. So then, did Prosecutor Blackwell make Panko fit into the case by dismantling her? Of course, Panko would fit. All Prosecutor Blackwell had to do was dismantle her. Once taken apart, the robot could have easily fitted inside that rolling case. It appears to be a robot assembly device. Disassemble anything in a flash of... You push that button. Yeah. It would have been easy for him to do it, even if he didn't know anything about doing it.
So it sounds rather violent, but Mr. Wright does have a point there.
Objection!
Except that there was a body on the table where robots are dismantled and assembled. There would have been no room to take the robot apart.
Objection!
But what if it wasn't done on the table? What if the katana was used instead?
You mean the sword?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Blackwell, I'd like your opinion as a woman of science. Isn't it true that the katana could have been used to take the robot apart? I suppose so. Their joints aren't made of a very tough material. A blade could slice through them. Thank you for your expert opinion, Miss Blackwell. Thanks to you, we now know that the existence of the severed arm in this photo proves that Panko was taken apart. In addition, since the rest of Panko was not found at the scene, we can conclude that the true meaning of this photo is very different from the original interpretation.
You can't mean...
That's exactly what I mean. This photo does not capture the moment of the murder. It instead a picture of the moment after the robot was sliced apart. The blood you see where the arm was cut off was transferred there by the bloody katana. Most likely the rest of Panko is scattered around Prosecutor Blackwell's feet. Not hearing this. Not hearing this! Therefore, what was transported inside that case was not the defendant, but a robot. Miss Sykes never was at the scene at the time of the murder. My head, my body, where am I? Yeah. You go, Mr. Wright.
Order in the court.
It's true that Panko was found in pieces after the murder, and I'll admit I repaired her myself afterwards. Yes, I'm finally making some progress. Hopefully I've gotten at least one step closer to proving both Athena and Prosecutor Blackwell innocent.
Objection!
Uh-oh. Well played, Mr. Wright. You've made your point abundantly clear. I concede that it wasn't the defendant inside the rolling case, but the robot. Alright. What's going on here? It's never good when he plays things this straight.
Yeah. Does the prosecution withdraw its claims that the defendant was carried from the scene?
No, Your Honor. My claim hasn't changed.
Objection!
But Panko and Miss Sykes couldn't have both been inside that case.
Objection!
The notion that the case was used to carry Miss Sykes was Miss Blackwell's theory. I have been of a different opinion from the outset. Now I finally have the opportunity to voice my theory. Thanks to the defense. Oh crap. Edgeworth. He's been one step ahead of me this whole time.
In that case, how do you propose the defendant left the crime scene?
Simple. The footage only shows Prosecutor Blackwell from behind. What's more, he's holding his arm in front of his body, as if he were holding something or someone. That's hardly evidence. I have proof. The surcoat Prosecutor Blackwell was wearing. The victim's blood was found on the front of it, and the stain had a highly distinctive shape.
A blood stain with a distinctive shape? Please continue, Prosecutor Edgeworth.
7 years ago, the defendant was known to constantly wear a certain item, of which there's only one in the world, a special pair of headphones made just for her. She always wore those big heavy-looking headphones. She said her mother made them for her as part of her research. Analysis show the bloodstain to be in the exact same shape as these headphones. In other words, this was no mere blood splatter. The blood went from the victim's body to the headphones and then was imprinted onto Prosecutor Blackwell's coat like a stamp.
A most gruesome stamp indeed.
Blackwell carried Miss Sykes, who had been hit by splatter, away from the crime scene. This proves that Athena Sykes was without question present at the crime scene, and that concludes the prosecution's argument. Such a gentleman about frickin' owning me.
Order! If the defendant was indeed at the scene, it deepens the suspicion against her.
Objection!
But we've also shown that the robot was there at the scene as well.
Objection!
I hope you're not making the ridiculous claim that a simple robot was the real murderer. I don't really think that, no, but you can't say the possibility isn't there. Detective Fulbright, was the robot questioned at the time?
No, I don't see any record of it. I believe it was considered unrelated to the case.
But as it turned out, the robot was actually integrally related. Your Honor, the defense would like to call Panko to the stand.
A robot witness? Order! Order in the court! Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you think about this?
Mr. Wright has called up all manner of witnesses to the stand over the years. So why not a robot? Nothing surprises me anymore with him.
Very true. Very well. I will allow the witness. Bailiff, please summon the robot named Panko.
Witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is not Witness. My name is Panko. Yes, I realize that, but when you are at the witness stand, you are the witness. No, I'm not. I'm Panko. Say it with me, Panko. What an utterly inflexible little robot. You're the last person who should be calling anybody inflexible.
You remind me of my grandchild who just learned his own name. Oh, how precious.
Alright, Panko. I'm going to ask you some questions. Questions? You have questions? Hooray! What are your questions? I want to know if you were there at the scene of the murder of Miss Sykes. It was 7 years ago, on the 7th of October, around 2 p.m., in the robotics lab. Certainly. Just one moment. Searching data. Search complete. Yes, I was there in the robotics lab. It would seem this robot's testimony is necessary to this case after all. This is great. I just knew Panko must have seen something important.
A murder committed right before this poor little girl's eyes. It's inexcusable.
The judge seems ready to adopt Panko as another grandchild.
So, little Panko, do you think you can give us your testimony today? what she saw.
I went to the robotics lab at about 2 p.m. for my regular recharge. Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged Mommy Metis. And then Mommy Metis fell down. After that, I was recharging, so I don't know anything. After I charged up, I was cleaning the room and Mr. Simon came in. And then an error occurred. There's no data after that point.
Well, it sounds like the defendant was without question at the scene. However, it doesn't appear that the witness saw the actual moment of the murder.
I disagree. This testimony shows that the defendant did indeed commit the crime.
What?
At the end of the day, we mustn't forget that this witness is still a machine. Being a robot, its understanding and capacity to express itself are limited.
Sure. So, what are you suggesting?
The witness's statements need to be interpreted. For example, the terms hugged and then later fell down. Adults don't usually fall down after being hugged by a child.
They don't, but...
Yes, what this witness's statements are telling us is that the defendant stabbed the victim with the murder weapon during this moment.
What?
Before Miss Sykes hugged Dr. Sykes, did the two of them converse? Yes, they did. They spoke to each other very loudly, but I don't know what they said. Athena is usually so quiet, so I was surprised. Spoke very loudly. We can interpret this to mean they argued.
I see. Murder after a heated argument, and then the victim fell down. I agree that it does sound like a reasonable interpretation. However, Panko doesn't seem to remember anything that happened after that.
When I'm recharging, I go into sleep mode. But I remember everything before that. I have a very good memory. You might as well admit defeat now, right? A cross-examination would be useless.
Don't be ridiculous. A cross-examination is never useless.
Until now. Think about it. Robots don't lie. This robot is both an important witness and a valuable evidence at the same time.
Nevertheless, I will have my cross-examination.
I see you haven't changed. You never were one to worry about wasting time.
Very well. Even if it may be a waste of time, you may proceed, Mr. Wright. I'll show you both just how fruitful any cross-examination can be. Your regular recharge. What is that exactly?
I have to refill my battery's power or else I stop working. I go to the lab to do that. So that recharge occurred around 2 p.m., around the time of the murder? That's right. I go every day at 2 p.m. Just as I was about to charge up,
Hugged her, huh? Which Edworth took to mean stabbed her with a weapon. You said the two of them were talking before Miss Sykes hugged her mother. Is that right?
Yes, they were talking very loudly, but I couldn't tell what they were saying.
Couldn't tell? Even though they were speaking so loudly?
I'm only allowed to listen to voices that are directed at me. If it listened to every voice, it would be little better than a mobile eavesdropper.
Well, that explains why some of Panko's testimony is so vague.
It's a shame that our little friend wasn't listening in, however. We could have learned what they were talking about just before Dr. Sykes was killed. Now then, what happened after that? And then Mommy Metis fell down. Yeah, alright, let's hit that.
I don't want to delve too deeply here, but... could you tell us how the victim appeared and acted at this moment?
Mommy Metis was very surprised when she was hugged. I heard her heart pound.
Her heart?
Mr. Wright, have you forgotten about this document we found in the robotics lab? These robots have a heartbeat detection system.
Now that he mentions it, I do remember reading something like that there. They detected the presence of people by the sound of their heartbeat. But wait a minute, that means if Dr. Sykes really did die at this moment... Panko, how was Dr. Sykes after she fell down? Could you still hear
the sound of her heartbeat? Let's see. The moment she fell, her heart was pounding. After that, I don't know. I started recharging just then. Of all the unlucky timing, if she had heard anything after that, it could have possibly proved that the hug wasn't actually the moment of the murder. I'm very sorry. I'm afraid I don't know. I'm very sorry. The robot is designed to go into sleep mode automatically, so it can't be helped. But it does appear it detected an increased heart rate at the moment of the stabbing. After Mommy Mattis's heart started pounding, in surprise, she fell by the window. It was the round window on the workbench side of the room. The workbench, huh? Panko must be talking about the table to the right of where the giant robot is now. Is there something critical in Panko's statement just now? Your Honor, I believe this statement is critical. I'd like it added to her testimony. Very well.
Panko, could you please add that statement to your testimony? That's a good little girl.
Mommy Mattis fell down near the round window on the workbench side of the room. Near the round window on the workbench side of the room. Let's press it first. Let's see. There are 2 round windows in the robotics lab. Which one did you mean? The one on the right, near the hanging scroll. That hanging scroll was Mommy Mattis's prized possession. Okay. In the picture of the crime scene from 7 years ago, there's definitely a hanging scroll and a Japanese theater mask hanging on the workbench side of the wall. But is there some problem with this statement? There has to be something wrong with this statement.
Objection!
Panko, your statement may have just inspired a breakthrough. I was helpful? Hooray! I'm so happy! Just to be sure, let's go over it again, okay? The victim fell near the window on the workbench side of the room. However, her body was discovered on the operating table.
But the operating table and the workbench are 2 different locations.
Exactly, Your Honor. We've just learned a new crucial fact. What could explain the 2 very different locations of the body? I'll tell you what. The victim moved. An 11-year-old girl couldn't have moved the heavy body of an adult. So the only explanation is that the victim walked to the operating table herself. In other words, what Panko observed near the workbench couldn't possibly have been the moment of the murder.
Phew, I'm very relieved to hear that. Glad to know that the murder wasn't committed in front of little Panko here.
Yes, as we just heard in the testimony, Miss Sykes hugged her mother, nothing more.
Objection!
Right. It's been 8 years, but you're still just as green as ever. Oh, crap.
Green? But I can't recall ever seeing Mr. Wright in anything but a blue suit.
Hey, blue's my favorite color. What can I say? If the defendant couldn't move the body herself, she could have had it moved for her. But Miss Sykes and Dr. Sykes were the only ones here. There. I agree. Since this robot is equipped with a heartbeat detection system, It would have been aware of another person's presence if someone else had been there. We can therefore conclude that the defendant and the victim were the only ones present.
Then who do you suggest moved the body?
Don't you know it's the nature of a robot to help people do things? Miss Panko, allow me to ask you a question. My name is Panko. Say it with me. Panko. Oh, he said Panko. I believe you said you were cleaning after Dr. Sykes fell down. Did you happen to move something large onto the operating table? Yes. Yes, I did. Athena asked me to. Athena asked you to?
And what did you move, little Panko?
I don't know. Unless something has an ID tag, I can't tell what it is.
An ID tag, you say?
Yes, a tag with a barcode on it. We robots scan them to tell us what a thing is. That paper in the lab did mention something about that. Recognize people by scanning their spacesuit or uniform jacket ID tag, it said. So it would appear that Miss Panko here can't identify what it moved. My name is Panko! But we humans have the power to imagine what it was, do we not?
We do?
Well, I do at the very least. Miss Panko, on the defendant's command, move the body onto the operating table. Gah! Edgeworth is just throwing everything at me. Panko, did you really move Dr. Sykes' body? This is really important. Isn't there any way you could tell? I don't know. Without an ID tag, I can't tell. Give it up, Wright. If the victim's heart was stopped, the robot's detection system would be useless. Furthermore, Dr. Sykes usually wore her white coat while she was working. She kept the jacket with her ID tag on it draped over a chair in the robotics lab, and only wore it for special occasions. In other words, the victim wasn't wearing her ID tag at the time. From the robot's point of view, her body was simply just another object. But Panko is equipped with a facial recognition system. If she really did move the victim, she would have recognized the body as Dr. Sykes. But she didn't, so that means... A face can easily be covered with a piece of cloth, a mask, or anything else for that matter. With her facial features hidden, the robot wouldn't be able to tell it was Dr. Sykes. He's right. To summarize, Miss Sykes stabbed her mother near the workbench. Then, using the robot, she moved the body to the table, where she removed the sword and it was stained in blood.
Order! But if that's the case, then I have a question. Why did the defendant move the body to the operating table in the first place?
You want a reason? Very well. What? You can't possibly have an explanation. Your emotions blind you to the truth. You could learn a lot from our robot friends. Common rational thought will open your eyes to the truth in front of you, Mr. Wright. Now then, do you remember the operating table's one special feature?
I believe I read that robots can be assembled and disassembled there. Isn't that right?
That's right. And to the defendant, who was just a child at the time, the table was like a magic box that could make robots appear or disappear in seconds. But in the end, my mom just put her in... Oh, yeah, wow. You can't possibly be suggesting. This young sheltered girl had a difficult time distinguishing robots from people. But take a look at Panko's arms. It was Miss Sykes who bandaged it up. That's Phoenix, yeah. Alright, we got that flashback. No way. I refuse to believe it. Miss Sykes made a childish, naive, and cruel mistake. She thought that if a robot could be dismantled and vanish without a trace.
But Prosecutor Edgeworth, if you're about to claim what I think you are, I demand that you word it as delicately as you can.
With all due respect, Your Honor, all I can do is present the truth as it stands. The reason the defendant moved the victim's body to the operating table... No! Don't say another word. Just stop. was to dismantle the evidence so that she could get away with her crime. That can't be true. That can't be true.
Order! Order in the court! Order in the court, I say!
Edgeworth, she was just a little kid. How can you say such a horrible thing? Horrible? Like I said, you're just as green as ever. I came here today as a prosecutor to seek only the truth, no more, no less. My theory is simply the result of a rational consideration of every possibility.
Objection!
But dismantling isn't the table's only function. It can make repairs as well. It's conceivable that Miss Sykes moved her mother to the table in order to fix her. I suppose that could be another way of interpreting it. But dismantle or repair, it doesn't matter either way. What do you mean? After murdering her mother, Miss Sykes may have come to her senses. Perhaps she did want to make it appear as if it had never happened. And that's why she tried to repair her mother. Yes, that's one possible explanation. But we mustn't forget the facts of this case. The victim was observed to fall down after being hugged by the defendant, and the body was moved per the defendant's command. These two facts that indicate the defendant's guilt remain unchanged. This just can't be true.
Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence to refute the prosecution's claim?
Evidence? Right. Let's see. I can't think of any. I'm afraid I don't have any evidence. Since becoming chief prosecutor, I've learned that the truth isn't always pretty. Now accept the truth, Mr. Wright. Your subordinate murdered her own mother. Your Honor, the prosecution demands a verdict. The hostages have suffered enough.
What a terrible and tragic conclusion. If the defense has no counter-argument, I see no need to further prolong this trial.
Edgeworth's argument seems solid enough, but there's no way Athena could have ever done anything like that. What do I do? There has to be something, but I can't think of a single thing. Objection! Oh, crap.
Prosecutor Blackwell!
This is quite the farce you are conducting here. I could die from laughter. Prosecutor Blackwell, what are you talking about? What I'm talking about is that your argument is based on an entirely false premise. Go on. We're listening. Could this be the miracle I needed? But what is Prosecutor Blackwell trying to pull here? 7 years. For 7 long years. This case has been on my mind. Not for an instant did I not think of it. I'm the one who killed my mentor, and don't think you can alter that fact now. Your baldness. I will take this to the stand, and I won't take no for an answer.
Of course, Prosecutor Blackwell. Please go ahead.
7 years ago, I went to the Cosmos Space Center with the intention of killing Dr. Sykes, but when I got to the robotics lab, I found Athena there instead. I would not be swayed from my purpose, so I waited for Dr. Sykes to return, and then I committed the act. How cathartic it was.
But little Panko here witnessed the victim falling. In other words...
I don't need any of your other words, old man. I can guess what happened.
Which would be?
She fell means she fell. Merely that. A mother and child fooling around. Perhaps she tripped. Not that it matters. When I entered the lab, there was no trace of Dr. Sykes to be seen. There was no dead body either, of course, meaning she must have left the room.
So the murder occurred after the time period Panko described in her testimony?
You should hardly take stock in the words of a wind-up toy. Then how do you explain the fact that the defendant had the robot move something? Athena was always tinkering with robots on the operating
table to amuse herself. And she always had Ponko move the heavy ones for her. That day was no different. Ponko moved her heavy robot for Athena. This is awful. What he's saying seems to make sense, and yet... Prosecutor Blackwell, are you trying even now to turn away from the truth? Don't you realize we could bring the Dark Age of the Law to a close today? You expect too much from me. I'm just a murderer, beyond redemption. Why don't you just let me go so I can settle down into hell? Nah. Prosecutor Blackwell's execution is tomorrow. If the truth doesn't come out now, it's all over. Are you saying that the little girl and the robot had nothing to do with the murder? That's right. So let's hear your verdict. If we don't hurry, I might miss the ferry across the Styx. Don't you dare, Judge! Don't forget I have hostages over here. And Simon, how long are you going to cover for her? Miss Blackwell. Forgive me, Aura. I never wanted you to do anything like this for me. But you agreed to this trial. If you have a counter-argument, then present your evidence. That's the rule of the courtroom. Isn't that right, Chief Prosecutor? Blackwell. You selfish... Well, to be frank, I don't like this, but it's my duty to make a decision. If no one has a counter-argument, I will announce my verdict. Is this really happening? Is it really going to end just like it did 7 years ago? I wanted to do it so bad. Even now, I want to fly out of here and go save him. No, I can't tell her. But how can I lie to Athena? If I can't prove Prosecutor Blackwell's innocence in this trial, I don't think Athena will ever forgive me. I can't let this happen. But I just don't have the evidence to counter Prosecutor Blackwell's testimony. Hold it. Athena? Athena, what are you feeling okay? I can hear it. I can hear the voice of his heart. He's hiding something. If he really is, I could sure use Athena's help. Her power might be just the thing to get us through this. Sykes, Dono. No need for you to chime in here. Just accept that you're innocent. These past 7 years, they've been just as hard on me, you know. What are you talking about? Do you remember? That horrible, horrible trial. Please, you have to listen to me. He didn't kill her. His heart is screaming that he didn't kill her. Even now, every time I stand in a courtroom, it comes back to haunt me. Not being heard, no matter how hard you try. Feeling so helpless. Caught in people's stares, so scared that it feels like your chest is in a vice. I'm terrified of courtrooms. I want to run out of that door even now. And yet, you found a way to keep your fears at bay and became a lawyer. Thanks. That's because one day I came to realize that I had to fight. I couldn't give up. I exercised hard and I studied hard. I wanted to become the strongest lawyer I could be. This day has finally come. The day I've been looking forward to with all my heart. This is why I became a lawyer. This is why I studied psychology. It was all to save you from this false conviction.
But, Miss Sykes, do you realize what it would mean? You are the accused, after all. If you prove Prosecutor Blackwell innocent, then...
The only thing that matters is the truth. It's my duty to find out what that truth is. Simon, please give me this chance. The chance to shake off this fear that's been with me for 7 years and face the truth. Athena's being so brave, confronting her past like this. This might really be the last chance to save them both. Prosecutor Blackwell, please testify one more time about the incident 7 years ago. Fine, but your efforts will surely be in vain, for I am not a man who can be cut down easily. Here we go, Simon. Let me hear the voice of your heart.
Yeah, here we go.
He's still happy. Why is he happy?
Alright, so that happy emotion's definitely weird. Tell me what's up. No? Okay, never mind. Alright, let's dig deeper. Alright, then it's this one, I think. No, it's that small happy thing about seeing Athena. That might, maybe. Let's try that. Yep, that's it.
This feeling of happiness. Even though the person you were looking for wasn't there, you felt happy. Why is that? Simple. When I was looking for Athena and hadn't found her yet, I grew worried. So when I saw her in the robotics lab, I was happily relieved. Merely that.
Alright.
Just now, you said that you went to the Space Center to kill Dr. Sykes. But the first thing you did was look for her daughter instead. I had no intention of harming Athena, so I wanted to confirm that she was saved first. It was just a part of my plan, nothing contradictory about it. The second I find an inconsistency, he cuts it down. Simon knows the principles of analytical psychology. There's less noise now, but I don't see any instabilities we can latch onto. I was afraid of that. We'll just have to keep chipping away at him, then bit by bit. Could you update his testimony, Athena? You got it, boss. Now he has a feeling of sadness, of plunging it into her. Not even you can falsify your emotions, Prosecutor Blackwell. What? When you said that you killed Dr. Sykes in your testimony, you felt sadness. Why would someone who had laid in wait to kill her be sad at her death? Such an obvious attack. Yes, I felt sadness, but it wasn't for her. I felt sorrow for Athena and her circumstances. Gah. He can't be talking about that, can he? My objective was to save Athena from an obsessive scientist who treated her own daughter like a research subject. What? I went to the psychology lab first. That's where I would usually find Athena playing. But that day was different. I heard someone crying in the robotics lab next door. Was Athena being subjected to yet another experiment, I thought, as I went to see. Conveniently, Athena had cried herself to sleep, so all I had to do was wait and kill. Wait and kill. So that's why he was relieved when he saw Athena. But is this story really true? I'm not sure how much to believe. Mr. Wright? How you doing, Athena? Still hanging in there? I'm a lot stronger than I look, boss. Now take a look at this. The noise level actually increased.
It went up. I've never seen it do that before. Prosecutor Blackwell is lying somewhere in his testimony. As a matter of fact, he's piling lies on top of lie in an attempt to make his claim sound more believable. He's trying even harder to suppress his true feelings, and that's what's causing the noise. How in the world should I approach this? I can either use an evidence-based approach if I can find a contradiction. Otherwise, I should look for an inconsistency in his emotions. There are no flaws in my testimony, and his baldness is prepared to give his verdict. Give up on this lost cause and let the law free me of these chains already.
Objection!
I don't think so. Not while I'm around. Now, contradictory testimony or inconsistent emotion. Which should I tackle first?
His testimony, probably.
Okay, let's present some evidence here. Got it, boss. But if you want to go back to looking for inconsistent emotions, just let me know. I can easily switch back.
I heard crying from next door. Of course, I was worried. I hurried over and opened the door to the robotics lab. But before I could lead Athena out of there, curse my luck, Dr. Sykes came in. I refused to hand Athena over, so I had no choice but to kill my mentor. What can I present here?
Objection!
I thought that would work. Is there a way I can go back to the emotion thing? Because I think that might actually work better before presenting all this evidence. He still has a lot of messed up stuff there. His emotions. Alright. So he's sad and shocked. I heard her crying from next door. Of course I was worried. I hurried over and opened the door to the robotics lab. But before I could lead Athena out of there, curse my luck, Dr. Sykes came in. I refused to hand Athena over, so I had no choice but to kill my mentor.
Got it!
Okay, never mind.
Got it!
Why was he shocked that...
How odd. Why would you register surprise at opening the door to the lab? Tisk. Alright, fine. I'll explain if I must. What surprised me was Ponko. That toy figure attacked me. Dr. Sykes knew full well of my plan to rescue Athena, but she couldn't stand guard over her daughter 24 hours a day. So, Dr. Sykes had Ponko do it. That's right. She ordered Ponko to forcibly remove me on sight. So I slashed Ponko up with the katana that was there in the lab. That rickety old puppet wasn't worthy of that fine blade. Mr. Wright, it happened. It's happening again. There's even more noise now.
Damn, he's 100% lying now.
It's at 100% now. What's going on here? Whenever we find an opening, he covers it up with lies. We'll never get rid of the noise at this rate. It's pretty hard to keep telling coherent lies like that. His mind and will really are as sharp and strong as a katana. Alright, what should I tackle first this time?
Alright, let's get in with this testimony. Let's try it. He says that he slashed Ponko when he attacked him. But... What do we have? That might help us.
Objection!
No. Damn it. This is hard. This is really hard that they're letting us choose between the two, and it's not really guiding you at all. But
Gotta think this thing through. Let's go back to his motions. We'll see if we can break something down on his ass. We gotta keep pressing what we can. With a feeling of dread, I opened the robotic lab door just then. Ponko attacked me. I retaliated by cutting into pieces. But before I could lead Athena out of there, curse my luck. Did that... No? Alright. Yeah, so there's no inconsistencies in this thing, so, let's try his testimony. There has to be something in his testimony that I'm missing here. Ponko attacked him, he said. But Ponko was dismantled, right? Or was... When was Ponko dismantled is what I want to know.
Objection!
Compounding lies with more lies is never the answer, Prosecutor Blackwell. Take a look at this photo.
That's the photo of the supposed moment of the murder, isn't it?
How many more times must I see that which damned me for my sin? The ironic thing is, I think this picture is actually going to be your savior now. See the blood stain at the end of Ponko's arm? Well, it was severed with the katana.
I hope you aren't claiming it's the robot's blood, Mr. Wright.
No. Most likely the blood was transferred there from the bloody katana.
The katana already had blood on it, so then it must have been the victim's blood.
That's right. But if that's the case, we've found a glaring inconsistency. You said in your testimony that you cut up Ponko and then you killed Dr. Sykes. But in spite of that, the victim's blood is already on Ponko's arm in this picture.
What? But that couldn't be.
Exactly. In order for the blood to have transferred from the sword to Ponko's arm, the victim must have been stabbed first before the robot was slashed. In other words... Prosecutor Blackwell, your entire testimony is nothing but one giant ball of lies. Gah! Tell the court the truth, Prosecutor Blackwell, now! You have no idea what you're doing. His voice. There's so much discord. I'm hearing not just one or two, but a bunch of rampaging emotions here. His heart, it's hard to describe. It's like a violent whirlpool or something. Phoenix Wright, you will pay for this. Never have I been forced to reveal so much, but the rest I'll take to my grave. Prosecutor Blackwell, you are on the witness stand. You are obligated to tell the truth. Isn't that the rule of the courtroom? All of these complex emotions, they seem to be flowing from one source. I think whatever he really saw that day is what's causing these feelings. Alright. Damn, all the emotions are going nuts. Following the sound of crying, I opened the lab door and then... I saw it, that terrible scene. So... But before I could lead Athena out of there, curse my luck, Dr. Sykes came in. I had no choice but to kill my mentor. Jeez. What's causing strong emotions? Ponko? Maybe? No, okay. What was this here? What? Oh, okay. So then it must have been Athena crying. No, damn it. Oh. When you opened the door and saw Athena, you became overwhelmed by your emotions.
Isn't that right, Prosecutor?
You should know better. And though it's pathetic, I admit I'm terrified to speak of it.
Prosecutor Blackwell, Miss Sykes is innocent. I will always believe that with all my heart. Now can't you find it within yourself to believe in me too?
Athena is innocent, huh? Can you honestly say you believe that to be true, right, Donal?
I give you my word. Now tell me, what you really saw when you opened that door.
Curse you, Phoenix Wright!
And we're gonna get the true story out of him then.
It was a tragedy. One I'll never forget. When I arrived at the lab, Dr. Sykes was already dead. She was lying on the operating table while the bloody katana lay on the floor. And standing between the two, covered in blood, was Athena. She smiled with a far-off look in her eyes as she sweetly said, "Something's wrong with Mom, so I'm taking her apart to fix her." Damn. That's what I saw. Now you have it, the truth that you so desperately wanted. Damn. No.
Prosecutor Blackwell finally tells the truth. And this is what it is? It's beyond devastating. I tried to take my mother apart. No! No! No!
Damn.
So it was me. I'm the one who killed my mother. Athena!
As I said, right? The truth isn't always pretty. Murder, disassembly on an operating table, a scientist using her daughter as a guinea pig. Sadly, it appears that my theory was correct after all.
Objection!
It's true that Athena didn't like her mother's research, but you dare cast aspersions on my mentor by claiming Athena was used in such a manner? Dr. Sykes could be awkward with people, but she loved her daughter with all her heart.
She loved me?
Your mother hated to see you suffer because you could hear the voices of people's hearts. She wanted to set you free of your pain, so she worked tirelessly on her research. Do you remember those headphones you hated so much?
Yes, my head hurt every time I wore them.
No, Athena. It's just the opposite. They emitted sound waves to nullify emotional input from the voices of people around you. Your power was much stronger than it is now. Then it is now. And those headphones were what enabled you to carry on with everyday life.
No, that can't be true. Then why? Why would I have done something like that to somebody who loved me so much?
Her love for you was real. That I can guarantee. That's why I knew. That what happened had to be some kind of mistake. I couldn't let you be punished for it. So you took the blame yourself. You and your mentor are more alike than you know. Panko was a witness, so I put it in the case, held Athena close, and vacated the lab. I threw Panko away in the boarding lounge trash chute, and I hid the case on the Space Center grounds.
It would seem that we now have all the facts of this case.
No, not yet. It can't end like this. Do not disgrace yourself, Mr. Wright. The truth has been revealed. Or are you the type of man to turn your back to things that disagree with you? I'm not. But this... I can't give up now. I have to say something, anything, even if it's a bluff. I've always managed to pull through that way in the past. I have to make it work. The defense is, prepared to present evidence. Mr. Wright... Yes, Athena? It's... okay. You can stop now. I don't want you or anyone else to suffer any longer for my sake. Athena, what are you saying? I killed my mother. That's the truth. It's just like Prosecutor Edgeworth said. We have to face it, no matter how much it hurts. Damn. I admit my guilt. No, Athena! But could I please be granted just one chance to tell everyone what I recall? It appears Miss Sykes is much braver than you, Mr. Wright. What say you, Your Honor? In light of her courage, will the court give Miss Sykes this opportunity to confess?
Very well. Then if you would, please take the stand, Miss Sykes.
Damn, this is crazy. So she really did kill her? Thank you for letting me do this, Prosecutor Edgeworth. And thank you, Mr. Wright and Prosecutor Blackwell, for letting the truth be known. Now we can finally move forward, and everyone's suffering can come to an end. Athena. Prosecutor Blackwell will be cleared, and the dark age of the law can come to an end. Yes, admit your guilt and bring everything to its conclusion. I killed my mother. My memory is still a little hazy, but there's no question I remember it. I remember the weight of the weapon in my hands, and the feeling of it stabbing in deep. And I remember the warmth of her blood as it flowed down the handle onto my fingers. Your Honor, please find me guilty. I dare say, these are all memories that no one but the murderer would have.
I see. Thank you for your confession. I believe this trial has gone on long enough. But before we conclude, does anyone have a counter-argument?
Damn.
Objection!
Uh-oh. I do, Your Honor.
Mr. Wright.
But, Mr. Wright, why? I killed her. I remember it now. Any counter-argument now is pointless.
Objection!
Don't tell me you've forgotten one of the basic tenets of lawyering. Always believe in the client to the bitter end. Athena, you are not a murderer.
Objection!
I said that you never change. But could you have actually regressed in these 8 years? I won't stand for your childish emotionalism getting in the way of the truth. Emotionalism? Don't lecture me on matters of the heart, Edgeworth. Because I can see straight into a person's soul. Uh-oh. The Cyclops. He's got to break these Cyclops. There's so many of them. Yeah, I know. About the black Cyclops. There are emotions that, you can't get out. There's still a chance somewhere deep in Athena's heart. There might still be a memory that not even she knows about yet. It might be like looking for a grain of sand somewhere in the cosmos, but still, that memory might contain a new fact that could prove her innocence.
I hope for everyone's sake that you are not just bluffing, Mr. Wright. Now then, is there or is there not a problem with Miss Sykes' confession?
There's definitely something wrong with her memory of the event. I can just tell.
If there is a problem with her confession, please prove it to the court now. Let's see. Isn't that the katana the defendant used to kill the victim, Mr. Wright?
I respectfully and vehemently disagree, Your Honor. But I remember it. I remember holding the weapon and getting blood on my fingers. That's exactly my point. If blood really did get on your fingers while you were holding it, there should be blood on the handle. But please focus on the handle of this sword. There's no trace of blood on it. And therefore, this is clearly a contradiction of the facts. You're right.
Oh my!
There's still hope. Don't give up, Athena. The defendant must have simply confused a portion of her memories. She mentioned it was hazy to begin with, and we can't mull over every minor detail.
Objection!
But she also said there's no question I remember it, a fact we can't ignore. In that case, why don't you explain what this contradiction with her memories means? Gladly. Just give me a sec to think of something. I want to say that Athena didn't stab anyone, but she said it herself that she remembers the feeling of committing the act. Think, Phoenix, think. What could the contradiction with Athena's memory mean?
The defendant used a different weapon.
Miss Sykes said blood flowed down the handle, but the katana's handle is spotless. So, doesn't it follow that the defendant must have used a weapon other than the katana? What are you up to this time? This is it. This time I found just the thing to end Athena's nightmare for good. The weapon that took Dr. Sykes' life was the katana, that much is for sure. So if I can show a possibility that Athena didn't use the katana, it could help me prove her innocent.
A different weapon, you say? What weapon would that be exactly?
Right, of course you would ask that. I can see you're floundering, Mr. Wright. Did you speak without thinking again, as always? How does he do that? But I can't back down. Not here, not now. That's right, I did. Because it's so obvious it doesn't require any thought. What did you say? Okay, so maybe that was an exaggeration, but there has to be something. Was there something other than bladed weapon? Some other bladed weapon in the robotics lab? Maybe there's something in one of the crime scene photos. Wait a minute. There is something. There's a high probability that that was in the lab. I don't have that particular weapon here in evidence right now, but I do have a piece of evidence just like it. Other than the katana, this is another blade that may have been at the crime scene. The utility knife from the other case.
But that's the murder weapon in the Clay Terran case.
Yes, this is the knife that took Mr. Terran's life. But there must have been a knife just like this at the scene of 7 years ago as well. Toolkits containing utility knives like this one are issued to Space Center employees. And a robotics lab especially would naturally have one of these around. But, besides the katana, no other bladed weapon was found at the site. It was in the investigation report if you didn't know. Oh, of course I knew that, once you told me just now. Then here's something else you already knew. There was a toolkit at the scene, but it didn't contain any blades. Here's a photo of its contents. Yeah, one blade's missing. Bada bing. You're right, I don't see any kind of bladed tool. Fine, but isn't there something odd about the design of these handles? Therefore, there was no other bladed weapon in the room. I disagree. This toolkit contained a knife. And what proof do you have of that? Well, there's a big frickin' gaping hole that is of something that's missing. Don't tell me your eye for art is failing you, too, Mr. Edgeworth. You're the last person in the world who should be criticizing my aesthetic sense.
No, he is simply watching out for your ocular health. Please proceed, Mr. Wright.
Notice that the handles of each of these tools have a sort of design on them.
Ah, I see that they do. But what significance does that have?
It's clear that one of the tools is missing from this kit. If we rearrange the tools into a specific pattern, we might be able to tell which part of the overall design is missing. Is that the theory your pitiful sense of aesthetic helped you come up with? Edgeworth, just let it go, man. Show the court then, if you would. What pattern of design would we see if we were to rearrange the tools?
You would probably see the logo. Let me see. Is that shown here? The GYX thingy. But what evidence shows it best is what I want to know. And what design is this supposed to represent?
The GYAXA logo, Your Honor. It's on all of the Space Center's documents and pamphlets. As you're aware, GYAXA is the program that operates the Cosmos Space Center. Yep, we've seen that flashback. Well, we know what happened there, so...
Ah, I think I see it now, but...
Yes, with just the tools shown in this photo, the red A part of the logo is missing. And this is where the murder weapon from the Terran case comes into play. If we were to place the utility knife in the open slot, it would complete the GYAXA logo.
So it would. Then that means...
Admit it, Mr. Edgeworth. My aesthetic sense is keener than yours, and while you're at it, admit that the weapon Miss Sykes used could have been this one.
Order. Order in the court.
Miss Sykes confessed to having a memory of stabbing the victim. Admittedly, Miss Sykes most likely did stab someone, using the utility knife. However, the weapon used to kill Dr. Sykes was the katana. Therefore, the act of stabbing that Miss Sykes remembers couldn't be that of Dr. Sykes. Very well. Let's suppose for a minute that Miss Sykes did use the utility knife. Tell me, how does that change anything? Come again? What if the katana was only being used as a decoy to conceal the true murder weapon? What if the real weapon that took the victim's life was the utility knife? Don't be ridiculous, or are you changing the premise of your entire argument? I'm merely offering a hypothetical situation derived from your logic. Miss Sykes could have put blood on the katana to make it look like the murder weapon, and then concealed the knife on her personage until Blackwell carried her away.
That does clear up the contradiction between Miss Sykes' memory and the evidence.
If in fact the murder weapon is a utility knife, then fate has dealt you a cruel hand, for you have just proven the knife's existence to the rest of us with your own logic.
The prosecution is attempting to lead the court.
You're the one attempting to lead the court, Mr. Wright, by forcing us to forget the facts of this case. Need I remind you that there were only 2 people in the lab at the time of the murder, and that the defendant herself recalls stabbing someone with her own hands? No. It matters not whether the murder weapon was a katana or a utility knife, as long as we know that the victim and the defendant were the only ones there. You cannot escape the fact that it was Athena Sykes who killed her own mother.
I don't believe it.
Why? Why does this keep happening? Every time I find a contradiction, it vanishes, and the suspicions keeps coming back. It's almost as if... Now you're finally starting to get it. Your contradictions keep vanishing because the charge is true, and the suspicion keeps coming back to the defendant because that's where it belongs. Phoenix Wright, when will you open your eyes and accept the truth? Ah! Nah, I don't want to believe it. It can't be true. Nah, but what if...
Mr. Wright, you fought a good fight. I think you've done all you can do.
Is giving up really the only option? No! Snap out of it, Phoenix. What's the matter with you, giving in to doubt? I can't look back. Forward is the only way to go. No, Your Honor, not yet. It isn't over yet. Right. I can't lose sight of what's important. I believe in Athena, and I'll always believe in her. To the very end. A defense lawyer never gives up on his client. I have to pick myself up and stand firm. Make that brain of yours work, Phoenix. If I don't see a way, I'll just have to go back and look for one. Time to rethink this case. Thoroughly.
Uh-oh. Super brain powers.
I concede the fact that Athena must have stabbed someone with the utility knife. This must have been what Ponko witnessed as Athena's hug. But Prosecutor Blackwell didn't see the knife at the scene. This means that someone must have removed it from the lab before he arrived. Who could have taken the utility knife from the lab?
Someone else?
If I trust in Athena, then I have to conclude there was a third person at the scene. But according to Ponko's testimony, Athena and her mother were the only two there. So then how did this third person manage to escape Ponko's detection? I know. This person must have fooled Ponko's facial recognition feature by covering... They covered their own face? But wait a minute, Ponko has a heartbeat detection system. Even if they covered their own face... Oh yeah, that's true. The culprit could have covered their face and posed as which person to avoid detection. They could have posed as Meta Sykes, right? And if the culprit posed as the victim, that would explain why Ponko thought only she and Athena were there. All they had to do was take advantage of Ponko's basic recognition features. The culprit used this in order to pose as the victim. Her jacket. The culprit could have posed as the victim by wearing her jacket with the ID tag on it, but that still leaves the heartbeat detection system. How did the culprit get around that? It wouldn't have worked if Ponko could detect the real Dr. Sykes' heartbeat too. So does that mean that the real Sykes was already dead by that time? If that's the case, then who did Athena stab? The real culprit. Athena must have walked in on him as the mom was dead, whoever it was. That's it. The person Athena stabbed wasn't Dr. Sykes. It was the person who murdered her and then pretended to be her. The real culprit. Uh-oh. Now that Mr. Wright has finally finished thinking, let us bring this to a swift end. Please give us your verdict, Your Honor, so that we can move on to the hostage negotiations.
You're absolutely right, Prosecutor Edgeworth. I hereby...
I didn't say I was finished. I was only pushing for a second, because I realized something so shocking I had to take a break to digest it. But now I know for a fact that Miss Sykes is innocent. But Ponko saw me. She witnessed the moment of the crime. Yes, Ponko did witness something. She saw the hug. In other words, the moment you used the utility knife. But the person you stabbed wasn't your mother.
What are you saying, Mr. Wright?
The answer is simple. The person Miss Sykes stabbed was a third person posing as Dr. Sykes.
What?
Objection!
Do you really expect us to swallow that, Mr. Wright? According to the robot's statement, there was no third person there. Did you really think I wouldn't see through your ludicrous grab for time? After all we've been through, Mr. Edgeworth, I'm disappointed. Don't you know by now that this smile of mine means I have absolute confidence? Ha! You make that pose all the time, regardless of the facts. Clonko's strange malfunction. See, he thought that Phoenix Wright, Apollo was Mr. Terran. Right there. That was another case of mistaken identity caused by a jacket ID tag. All because Clonko couldn't read Apollo's facial features due to that eye patch. Like Mr. Edgeworth said, a mask could nullify the robot's facial recognition. And then, all the person would have to do is wear a jacket with the victim's ID tag to pose as her.
Objection!
Of all the ridiculous theories, what good would a silly disguise like that do? Have you forgotten that the robot also has a heartbeat detection system? If there was a third person at the scene, the robot would have detected them. I'm sorry, Mr. Edgeworth, but that doesn't count for much, I'm afraid. Because, by that time, Dr. Sykes' heart had already stopped beating. What?
So does that mean...
Yes, Your Honor. The person Miss Sykes stabbed. This third person who was posing as Dr. Sykes is her mother's real killer. But that's... impossible! A mask? The person I stabbed was wearing a mask?
Order! Order in the court! Miss Sykes, did you say something?
A mask. Yes, I remember. Athena, what is it? Did I just break a lock? I did, didn't I? I remember a man with a mask. How could he? What did he do to my mother? My head.
Miss Sykes, are you alright?
No! Yes. Crumble. The Black Cyclops. They're breaking. They're all breaking. Oh yeah. I did it. Chain reaction break. It's all coming back to me. Everything that happened the day my mother was murdered. They're gone. The Black Cyclops are finally gone. You didn't really stab your mother, did you? It's alright, Athena. Just tell us what you saw that day. I was drawing a picture when I was done. I went to show it to my mom. I opened the door, and then... It's alright. I'm right here. You're safe, Athena. She was on the floor by the workbench with the katana sticking out of her. There was a handkerchief over her face, but I knew it was her by her clothes. And there was a man there.
A man?
Quiet, Your Honor. Go on, Athena. He tried to attack me in a panic. I grabbed the knife that was there and he dodged at first, so I only got his clothes. But I tried again. And this time you got him, didn't you? I did. I remember it clearly now. The knife went into the back of his hand. Then he kicked me and I passed out. Damn. When I came to, my mom wasn't moving. I had to do something. I had to fix her, I thought. So I asked Panko to move her to the operating table. Something's wrong with Mom. I have to fix her. So that's why she said that. Your Honor, as you can see, the defendant has just given us critical new testimony. A man was there before Miss Sykes arrived, a man who covered the victim's face and put on the victim's jacket. This man is the real culprit.
Miss Sykes, do you have any idea who this man was?
No, I'm afraid I don't. A few moments ago, Miss Sykes mentioned a mask. Athena, can you tell us anything about the mask? Yes, the mask. It was my mom's Japanese theater mask. I think it was the one hanging on the wall of the lab.
Ah, this mask hanging here on the wall.
It was kind of spooky. That mask, my mom used to tell me that a no mask even has the power to turn an ordinary human into a phantom. A phantom?
It would seem that a new suspect has emerged, and that means that all suspicion against Miss Sykes has...
Oh, this bastard. You see? This is precisely why I can't trust the court system. Athena Sykes is the murderer. I won't accept any other verdict. Miss Blackwell, this is not good. A new suspect? Where's the proof this person ever existed? Who says it wasn't all just a dream in the little princess's groggy little head? Nah, she's right. We don't have any hard evidence of the masked man's existence. Thank you, Mr. Wright. I'll never be able to repay you for all you've done. But I'm fine now, because I can say with certainty that I didn't kill my mother. Athena, I'm so glad for you. More and more memories are coming back now. So I'd like to say one thing if I could. Panko came to the robotics lab at about 2 p.m. to recharge. I see where you're going with this. If Mommy Metis was really the killer in disguise. Right. Then he must have come to the robotics lab before 2 p.m. Do I have anything here in the evidence that can help me find this person who came to the lab before 2 p.m.?
I have to figure this out. What do I have that could help me? What? I don't know. Think. Yeah, that was stupid, because, I mean, everybody knows about the autopsy. I gotta think. What could help me prove this?
Oh, wait. No? Oh, damn it. I thought I could roll with that. That's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna fail this probably. At a crucial moment, too. Ouch. Alright, come on. Oh, well, that's a failure. Damn it. Alright, fine. I lose. That's fine. That's fine. Skip it. I gotta get back into this. Come on, man. So lost at this critical moment in the damn case, man. Oh, stupid. I'm kind of just drawing at straws now. I don't know. Alright. Come on, that's fine. Alright. No. Oh, that's a failure. Damn, I'm just gonna end up going through all the evidence pretty much till I figure out. 'Cause it's all failing for me right now. I don't have much evidence left. I checked that, I tried that. I tried this. I didn't try the tape or the sword. Or this. I've tried that. And I've tried those. So it's one of these. This is Prosecutor Blackwell leaving the scene after the incident around 3 p.m. What I'm wondering is, does the video show anyone else passing by there before then? I don't see anything in the investigation report. It looks like they didn't check. Just as I thought. So if we rewind the footage and go back to around 2 p.m., we should be able to see the true culprit leaving the scene.
Very well then, let's take a look.
There! Please stop it right there.
Oh, look who it is. It's just like you said. There's a man leaving the scene of the crime.
Miss Sykes, do you remember this person? That's him. I'm sure of it. He's wearing my mother's jacket. Who was that? Can you see it? There's the slash I made with the utility knife that day. And I'm sure that knife is under that jacket somewhere.
So then, everything Miss Sykes said...
Exactly. It proves that Miss Sykes' memory was correct. Dr. Sykes' killer arrived at the robotics lab before 2 p.m. He killed her and hid her face with a handkerchief. Then, he disguised himself with Dr. Sykes' jacket and mask that were there in the lab. The culprit probably knew beforehand that Ponko charged up at 2 p.m. every day. So he waited for Ponko to come to the lab for her regular charge. By leaving Dr. Sykes' jacket on, the culprit tricked Ponko into thinking he was Dr. Sykes, thereby making it look like she was alive up to that point in time, all to disguise the real time of death. It's a nice theory, Mr. Wright, but I'm afraid that it's just not possible. What? Why not? The victim's jacket is clearly visible right there in the video, and that's right there is precisely the problem. The ID tag on the jacket at the scene confirms beyond doubt that it belonged to the victim. If the person who left the lab truly was wearing the victim's jacket, then how could it possibly have wound up back at the crime scene? What's going on? That doesn't make sense. Edgeworth's right. If the culprit was wearing the jacket, how did it get back to the lab? The defendant brought it back. Oh, that's wrong.
Objection!
Okay, that just thrashed me. What? Oh crap. That's a new ending to it. Alright. The killer brought it back. The killer used the jacket as a disguise to make his escape. But in order to conceal that fact, he had to get the jacket back to the crime scene. So the culprit simply returned to the robotics lab later and planted it there. Contradiction resolved. Except that it would have been impossible. The only people who came to the robotics lab after the killer were Prosecutor Blackwell and the people who reported the body, and they claimed that the jacket was there when they arrived. So, when do you propose this mysterious man of yours had the chance to return the jacket?
A puzzling question indeed.
When did the culprit have the chance to bring the jacket back? At the time of the murder. Okay, no, that's wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm sorry. When the body was found. The only time the culprit could have returned the jacket was when the body was found. Mr. Wright, do you realize the implication of that argument? I do. Most people, when they come across a murder, focus their attention on the body. The culprit could have taken advantage of that split second to plant the jacket. In other words, the true culprit of this case, the man known as the Phantom, was one of the first people to discover the body.
Wait, I missed that. Order in the court. What is the meaning of this, Prosecutor Edgeworth?
The body was discovered and reported by a group of 3 people. They were there to collect the space probe's capsule in preparation for the Hat 1 launch. One of those people had a special bag to transport the capsule in. Oh, you mean the shock-resistant bag? Correct. I suppose that if the jacket was in that bag, it could have been returned to the scene of the crime without anyone noticing. I'll see to it that you get the reports on those 3 people. You will? We should also check the facial recognition database for that robot. If this person felt the need to hide his face with the theater mask, It might mean that his facial data was once registered.
Prosecutor Edgeworth, does this mean...
I have to admit, I believe Miss Sykes' memories to be credible. You win, right? Not that this was ever an official trial, anyway.
Do my ears deceive me? Prosecutor Edgeworth, are you actually conceding?
Is it true, boss? Does this mean I can't believe it. It's over. I won. I proved that both Athena and Prosecutor Blackwell are innocent. Your Honor, I see no need to further prolong this trial. Hold on, Mr. Wright. Have you forgotten who's in charge of this trial?
That's right. I'm the one who's supposed to say, I see no need to further prolong.
Not you either, Your Honor. Now silence. The little princess who was truly beloved by Metis, and who repaid that love with death. All these years hating Athena was the only thing that's kept me going. But what do I do now? Can anybody tell me? How am I supposed to go on? Miss Blackwell. How unlike you, Aura. Metis was deeply passionate about her work, and she chose you as her partner. Isn't that... Shut up, Simon. You know exactly how I felt about her. Her respect as a co-worker wasn't all that I wanted.
Then what did you want from her?
Did you really just go there, Your Honor? Aura, there is something I've wanted to say, if you will lend me an ear. I have in my possession a lead on who Metis' murderer is.
You do?
Right, Dono. You asked me about the identity of the Phantom of 7 years past. That's right. The Phantom. The person Blackwell has been looking for, even from behind bars. 7 years ago, somebody hatched a plan to sabotage the Hat 1 rocket. The spy. But he was no ordinary spy. We knew naught about him, his background, appearance. We came to refer to him as the Phantom. At the time, I was working with the police to hunt him down. And then, one day, a miracle occurred, and I obtained a lead on him.
Oh, how exciting. What was the lead?
A recording of the Phantom's voice, but the quality was too poor for proper voice analysis. Yet I had hope Aura's co-worker was a scientist who could analyze human emotions. So I asked her to evaluate the recording using analytical psychology. And that scientist was Dr. Sykes. Yes, a spy's greatest fear is to have his true identity discovered. In addition to Hat 1, Dr. Sykes' results and the recording were surely among his targets. But his search of the Space Center bore no fruit, so he must have started to panic.
He couldn't find them? But where could they have been?
Who is to say? Wow, I bet he's never let that out of his sight all these years. How in the world did you smuggle them into prison? Oh, I have my ways. What's more, my partner is especially talented at that sort of thing. This bird. I worked to lure the Phantom in by spreading rumors throughout the underworld. I was even granted permission to prosecute cases to attract the Phantom's attention. Just try to retrieve your identity. You bloody butcher became my taunt. And what about the results Dr. Sykes drew up for you? Was there any useful information? Here. You can see for yourself. But take good care of it. It's all I have left of my mentor. I will. I'd better hold on to this real tight. Phantom Psych profile added to the court. Psychological profile classified. Emotional output of this voice extremely weak compared to typical voices. Subject deemed to have unique psychological makeup with almost no emotional fluctuation. No emotional fluctuation, huh? A spy who experiences no emotion. Not sadness nor anger, and naturally no fear. He's the very definition of a phantom. A monster with no heart, don't you see? This creature is the rot that destroys our lives and set what ails us all into motion. The Phantom indeed, a fitting name for the one who has brought darkness to our world.
Well then, it seems a faint image of this man has started to take shape,
Based on what we have learned, I'd like all of you to conduct further investigation. This is not a formal trial, but I do want to follow protocol. If I may, I'd like to hand down my verdict and bring these proceedings to an end.
Whatever. Do what you want.
You'll hear no objections from me.
Yes, please, Your Honor.
It's over. It's finally over. Very well. In that case, Prosecutor Blackwell, could you please take the stand? As a result of this trial, your innocence has been proven. The verdict handed down 7 years ago is hereby overturned. And now, the defendant of the current trial, Miss Athena Sykes.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright, thank you. Thank you for everything.
Athena, you're more than welcome. If everyone is ready, I will now give my verdict.
Objection!
Oh, crap. You!
Apollo! Apollo! What is the meaning of this? Congratulations, Mr. Wright and Prosecutor Edgeworth. You uncovered the truth from 7 years ago, and you saved Prosecutor Blackwell. However, I can't allow this trial to end just yet. Why, Apollo? Why would you do this to us?
Oh, crap.
To be continued. On the next part, we find out, and I would hope it would be the last part, we find out why Apollo is being a weirdo face. See you guys next time on Turnabout for Tomorrow.